has attracted social media critics and have continuously raised criticisms, provoking the National Communication Council to release a warning to TV stations that promote such acts. In a recent release, the National Communication Council boss, Joe Chebonkeng, urges owners of TV stations to strip off programs that promote such acts, as the Cameroon's law is against homosexuality. On the streets of Douala, parents decried what they have described as growing moral decadence promoted by the media.
Nowadays, many children have access to phones, gadgets, TV. But remember that you, as a parent, you have a duty to check what this child is doing online.
Taking of drugs and everything is there, but there are applications on the phone that you can install.
Conscious of their absence at home due to long hours at work, some parents prefer to completely switch off TV stations or encrypt with child lock. This permits the children to watch only programs that are necessary for them.
Don't forget your TV has what they call a child lock. All those programs, after some certain hours, they change, to adult. You see programs with kind of age controlled. We should be able as parents to put like a child lock or
everything to control them so that they should not watch those type of things which are not necessary, which are not important for them.
Homosexual acts are equally known to feature even in certain cartoons.
Of Cameroon through the Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family has sent warning signals to perpetrators of femicide, promising tough sanctions that might eventually send them behind bars. The Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family, Marie-Therese Abena, made a declaration today in Yaoundé, and she talked of the measures and situation.
Since April 2023, the 6th Nanga Eboko case.
Murdered by her boyfriend, by the same person.
The worrisome situation has pushed the government to blow the warning whistle, announcing merciless penalties awaits perpetrators according to the law.
The perpetrators of feminicide and all those who support them in any way are criminals who have lost their sense of humanity. They are a real danger to society as a whole. Wherever they are and whoever they are, they deserve to be hunted and punished mercilessly without any pity, because they are working against the most precious thing we have, life.
The statement by the Minister of Women's Empowerment and Family Promotion, June 15 in Yaoundé.
Another era.
The government thus intends to continue to implement family and marital life education program, accelerate the implementation of the national strategy to combat gender-based violence, intensify the denunciation of perpetrators, accelerate the operationalization of the 116 helpline for abused children, exploit the root cause of these acts, as among many. Against the backdrop that many women and girls lose their lives in violence acts perpetrated by their spouses, partners, boyfriends, relatives.
The biometric cards in Douala yesterday. More on the story with our reporter Saleh Sharifa.
Tanga Vesta is a refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo. In Cameroon for 15 years, she now chairs the refugee committee in the Douala 5 municipality. As for all those who have her status, she aspires to a better integration after her university studies in Cameroon. Like other refugees, she has this June 15, 2023, obtained her biometric card. I left Congo due to the political crisis and other forms of insecurity, so I had to beg for protection in Cameroon, given the fact that I was no longer secured there. We were very limited without these cards. We had no access to open a bank account, and we could not access certain jobs. When you go for a driving training lesson, you were not able to obtain a driver's license at the end. These biometric cards will help improve their living conditions. It is issued to them by the Cameroonian government through the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR.
Refugee ID cards are cards which will allow refugees to have rights. It's a right which gives right to other rights. For instance, you know that without a document, it's more difficult for you to move from one place to another place. It's more difficult to have access to school, education, health care, but also employment. So this card will allow refugees to improve their economic inclusion in Cameroon and maybe tomorrow contribute to the economy of Cameroon.
A total of 152 of them have obtained biometric cards. It was done at the Littoral Region Governor's Office in line with the Day of the African Child observed every June 16. It should be noted that same action was done in the East Region where 4,000 biometric cards were handed over to refugees.
And volunteers are essential in raising awareness in communities about the sickle cell disease that continue to save the lives of sickle cell patients in Cameroon. They are taking upon trainings and campaign, which is part of activities of this year's World Sickle Cell Day observed on June 19. More in the following story.
Volunteers in sickle cell advocacy are receiving training on sickle cell and the protocol of acute management of sickle cell disease. Emphasis was equally placed on the necessity for Cameroonians to opt for sickle cell screening before marriage. Sensitization is a priority to the Ashu Egbe Foundation fighting for the survival of sickle cell patients in Cameroon.
Knowing what sickle cell is all about, it's a genetic disorder which is due to an abnormal hemoglobin, so it can only be transmitted from in the family line, like from parent to the children. It's not contagious. And I've also learned that the best way to prevent sickle cell is to know your genotype before marriage.
Mostly deal with what is genotype, and then mostly also the many other things.
Advocates to go out and talk about sickle cell, they need the training, they need to have information, and they need the right information so they can pass on the right information to the people in their communities.
Sickle cell remains a major health concern in Africa, particularly in Cameroon, where about 20 to 25% of the population is known to carry the sickle cell trait. Ashu Egbe is a sickle cell warrior.
Encourage them that they can live a life to adulthood.
The advocacy training program of volunteers on sickle cell is part of activities of the foundation to mark this year's World Day for the fight against sickle cell, observed every June 19 each year.
And Cameroonians continue to pour their reactions on the man John Frondi, national president or chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, the SDF, who passed on to glory some days back. We sampled the opinion of some Cameroonians on the streets of Douala on what they retain of the politician. Let's watch.
A fighter, influential figure of Cameroon, fearless, determined, and committed towards his vision of seeing Cameroon become a great democratic institution. These and many more are some of the descriptions Cameroonians make of the fallen politician. Most of them have been observing very keenly the political twists and happenings in Cameroon for over years. On the streets of Douala, every Cameroonian could easily relate with the political icon John Frondi. He is a political figure that made Cameroon to tremble in the early 90s. He marks me politically. I heard people describe him as a fearless opposition leader. He was a threat to the regime. He was not the same man.
Very, very great as a politician. He was very, very great because he showed us that we can come out for circumstances to good circumstances.
Other Cameroonians expressed bitterness concerning his political career. They decried his inability to seize power in 1990 when he had the opportunity. He came close to becoming head of state, but failed. They cried out. He did not succeed to realize his vision. He has left behind a divided party, pushed many of the party scribes out of the party.
C'est un personnage qui a échoué.
I see him more of a failure because he had the opportunity to change the history of Cameroon, but he failed to push this through. Many remain skeptical if the SDF party will survive after him, especially as he leaves behind a party where in-house fighting has become the order of the day.
And the Secretary General of the United Nations that has said that current policies are taking the world to a 2.8 circle temperatures or rise by the end of the century. That spells a catastrophe, yet the collective response remains pitiful. He accused nations seeking to weaken COP texts of relying on wishful thinking and unproven technologies. He also said the COP process is ahead of COP 28, which begins on an excerpt of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, gathered by our newsroom.
The problem is not simply fossil fuel emissions. It's fossil fuels, period. The solution is clear. The world must phase out fossil fuels in a just and equitable way, moving to leave oil, coal and gas in the ground where they belong, and massively boosting renewable investment in a just transition, designed to kneecap progress.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast, the English language on Canal International. Thanks so much for watching. But coming up next is the brief with Mark Shamu. As for me, I'll be back same time, but this time around on Monday. Good night.